This is a car that has taken over 100 years to make. And after spending just 2 hours driving it this morning, I have to say it has been worth the wait. So this is Spectre, the first all-electric Rolls-Royce. And two things really stand out for me about it. First, how wonderfully Rolls-Royce it is. And the second, how well suited Rolls-Royce is to electric power. But before I tell you more about the fulfilment of a century-old prediction, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because if you're into electric cars of any shape, size or budget, this is the place to be.
So, why has it taken over 100 years? Well, way back in 1900, motoring pioneer, the Honorary Charles Stuart Rolls, made a prediction in a magazine article. He said, "The electric car is perfectly noiseless and clean. There is no smell or vibration. They should become very useful when fixed charging stations can be arranged."
So yeah, here we are at last. Meet Spectre, the world's first ultra-luxury electric super coupe, as Rolls-Royce likes to call it. So come on, what do you think? Because this is a huge shift for Rolls-Royce. By the end of 2030, its entire range will be fully electric. I mean, just think about that for a second. They will never again produce a new model with an internal combustion engine. What do you make of that? Let us know in the comments below.
There's no missing Spectre when you see it on the road. It is a beautiful thing, with its signature split headlights and of course the grille marking it out as a Rolls-Royce. At just under 5.5 metres long, just over 2 metres wide and close to 1.6 metres tall, it's a car that is probably best described as having generous proportions. Its Pantheon grille is actually the widest ever fitted to a Rolls-Royce. But of course it's no longer there to cool a V12. Its job now is to help with aerodynamics. The iconic Spirit of Ecstasy was redesigned for Spectre. It has a lower stance and a more aerodynamic profile, and was perfected over, wait for it, 830 hours of design modelling and wind tunnel testing. The tail lamps are set into the largest single body panel ever produced for a Rolls-Royce, and the seamless roofline also adds to the Spectre's exceptional aerodynamics, helping to contribute to the 0.25 drag coefficient, the lowest yet for a Rolls-Royce.
So let's just take a moment now to talk about these pillarless rear hinge coach doors. They are 1.5 metres in length. They're laser welded and they're made from 100% aluminium to reduce weight. And of course, being a Rolls-Royce, they're completely power activated. You don't need to do anything. And they close via magic. Honestly, look at this. There you go. It's not really magic. You actually just use the brake pedal and it closes them for you. But don't tell anyone that, because magic sounds so much cooler, doesn't it? No, it doesn't feel as spacious in here as you might imagine, given its exterior size. It feels quite cosseting. I think that's mainly down to the fact that the battery is mounted underneath, so that allows for a lower seating position, and also this deeper dashboard. There is a nice kind of cocooning feeling. But at 5'4", I am right on the maximum of the seat height, and I've only just got a good view over that vast bonnet. So it's not ideal. However, on the plus side, I have been driving earlier with somebody who is 6'4", and we did both manage to find a comfortable driving position, so I guess that's good.
What is ideal though is the level of craftsmanship you see in the interior. It really is on another scale. For the first time on a series production Rolls-Royce, customers can opt for starlight doors, which incorporate 4,796 softly illuminated stars. They're gorgeous. Not your thing though? Well, there's also, of course, a range of handcrafted woods for you to choose from. That celestial theme continues with Spectre's illuminated fascia. It was developed over the course of 2 years, taking more than 10,000 collective hours. Yes, really. It incorporates the Spectre nameplate, surrounded by a cluster of over 5,500 elegant stars, and it's completely invisible when the car is not in operation. And like those stars in the headliner, it looks utterly incredible at night. Inspired by British tailoring, there's an all-new front seat design which has lapel sections that can be optioned in contrasting or matching colours to the main base. And for the first time, clients are able to extend their bespoke commission into the digital realm by selecting the colour of the instrument dials to complement the car's colour scheme. Another example of how Rolls is embracing both its history and, of course, its all-important future in this car.
Now, I know a lot of Rolls-Royce customers like to sit in the back of their cars, and it's going to be a little bit tight in here. It is a coupe after all. Actually, the seat is really comfortable, nice and wide. You definitely get 2 adults in here. Legroom is pretty good. I think it's here that I see a slight problem. I'm only, as I said, 5'4", and there's not stacks of room there, is there? But everything else is as you'd expect, all the gadgets, all the comforts, all the air conditioning, nice storage in there. But as lovely as it is back here, there's really only one seat I'm interested in, and it's that one. So this is where I really wish I could transport you through the screen to sit next to me so you can experience this too, because it is pretty impressive. So obviously it starts in silence, pulls away in silence, and that quiet, serene drive continues. And you know, the first thing that really hits me, other than the silence, is why they waited so long to go electric, because it just suits the Rolls-Royce so much. One thing I think is interesting though is that when it comes to that instant electric torque, the engineers have resisted the urge to go really full on. The Spectre feels probably more restrained than it could have been, maybe a bit more befitting a car like this. But the figures do still stack up pretty well, and it does really shift when you nudge the accelerator. It's got all the power that you need for a car like this.
Despite the fact it weighs in at just under 3 tonnes, it can still accelerate from 0 to 62 in 4.5 seconds. Helping you on the way are 2 electric motors, front and rear. The motors, which were co-developed with BMW, produce a combined output of 577 brake horsepower and 900 Newton-meters of torque. Now, of course, there's also lots of hardware helping you on your way too. Adaptive dampers, active roll bars, the planar suspension and 4-wheel steering, all familiar from other Rolls models. But at the heart of it all is the development of the brand's bespoke platform. This aluminium space frame, which houses its massive 102 kilowatt-hour battery, makes it the stiffest car Rolls has ever produced. In another first, Spectre is also the most connected Rolls in history, described as Rolls-Royce in ultra-high definition. Each of the car's thousands of drivetrain and chassis characteristics were tested and refined during an extensive programme, and the result is a smart suspension that reads the road ahead and processes the vast amounts of data it collects to respond quickly to input from the driver or changing road conditions.
Now, all of that work means that the ride is smooth, it's calm, it's comfortable. It does adapt really quickly to whatever the road throws up, not surprisingly. So I've been on slower roads today, haven't really had the opportunity to push this harder, but it does seem to corner well, it stays composed. Steering is light, but it's accurate. And it does actually make it feel surprisingly nimble and manoeuvrable when you're driving around town, particularly given its size. However, it's not perfect. Those gorgeous and enormous optional 23-inch wheels might look spectacular, but they do throw up a fair bit of noise on poor stretches of road like this one now, and it does have an impact on the overall serenity of the drive because everything else is so calm and quiet. My other grumble is efficiency. Now, when it came to deciding what the range should be, Rolls-Royce did a lot of work with existing clients to help figure it out. And the result, that official 329 miles, apparently goes beyond those requirements. And it's just as well, because we're not getting anywhere close to that today. So if I look down here, it's telling me 2.5 miles per kilowatt hour. And these aren't fast roads that we've been on. Temperature is lovely, it's a balmy 23, 24 degrees. I have spent quite a lot of time using the B mode. So to be averaging that isn't brilliant because on my maths, it's around 250 miles. Now, if it's doing that in these conditions, you can expect even less in winter. It's going to be at least sub 200. But of course, we'll take a look at this again when we have the car for longer in the UK and can really give it a fair drive. So I know the question you want answered. Would you miss the V12 engine? And no, I don't think you would, because I'm not doing. I reckon that Rolls-Royce and electric are pairing right up there with fish and chips, bacon and eggs, two Ronnies. And I'm very sorry if you're not from the UK or of a certain age, then that last reference may well be lost on you. So let's just say that the two really work together wonderfully. You know, for a car that's not insignificant in its size or weight at over 3 tonnes, Spectre is Rolls-Royce's most aerodynamic car, and it really does feel like that because it kind of slips through the air. Now, over 1.5 million miles of testing have gone into getting it road ready. The engineers are so confident with the setup that you don't have any driving modes to play around with, which I think is quite refreshing actually. Now you do though get a B mode just here on the stalk. Now it bumps up the regeneration, but you don't get true one pedal driving, and I think this is where they've really missed a trick. Because you don't get that, you're not really getting the full experience, and you also can't control the level of regeneration on offer. So the whole setup is actually, I think, a little bit harsh when you initially lift off to slow down, which just seems to go against, for me, that whole refined, serene vibe of the whole driving experience. I think that perhaps by adding some paddles here on the steering wheel to control that, it would have helped you to enjoy the regeneration more. Now, Rolls-Royce do say they went down this route on purpose. This is new technology for its customers, but as someone who drives a lot of electric cars and really loves that aspect, I just wish they'd gone for it completely.
That 102 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery is made using cobalt and lithium from strictly controlled sources in Australia, Morocco and Argentina, while the battery cells are produced using 100% green electricity. Like everything else, the battery has been tested extensively in temperatures ranging from -40 degrees centigrade to +50. And it has a sophisticated onboard thermal management system to keep it regulated. Charge times from 10 to 80% take 34 minutes at a DC fast charger, where it can draw a maximum rate of 195 kilowatts, while a 50 kilowatt DC charger will take just over an hour and a half. But don't expect to see many Spectres queuing for the chargers over a bank holiday weekend. The company says it expects the majority of its owners to do their charging at home. Or of course, the chauffeur will be happy to help.
Now, I spent a fair bit of time in the BMW i7, which I always thought had refinement completely covered, apart from a rather irritating wind noise around the mirror that comes in at speed. But this is on another level. On a good stretch of road, this car is so serene. And it's interesting because the way the battery is positioned underneath apparently acts as an added sound buffer. If this is too quiet for you, then there is, of course, one of those artificial sounds you can turn on if you like that kind of thing. Personally, I don't like that kind of thing. I don't think you need it. For me, the silence and the calmness of an electric Rolls-Royce really sums up what luxury is. So I'm going to give that one a miss. But if you do want it, it's somewhere in here in the menu, and I don't think you will want it.
So there you have it, the Rolls-Royce Spectre. A very, very brief first drive, but here it is in all its glory. As always, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We'll be driving this car in depth on UK roads very soon. And of course, if you do subscribe, switch those notifications on.